It's almost like when you are trying to become a better person, it really does test your patience, test your resilience, and also test your relationships. And it's so surprising when you actually get to see how others change. Hello everyone, my name is I am Michelle. I'm using this platform in order to discuss some important topics within our 20s, and today we'll be discussing those who only love you at your worst and navigating that as a Christian as well. So the reason I really wanted to highlight this topic is because now we're finally in a new year, and this new year really kind of gives room to reminisce on our past of who we once were and who we actually want to become. In my personal past, I have really had time to reflect and have definitely seen a lot of good, but along with that good definitely comes with a lot of bad. It's almost like when you are trying to become a better person, it really does test your patience, test your resilience, and also test your relationships. And it's so surprising when you actually get to see how others change, when you might be becoming a different person and you might be changing who you once were in order to fit the narrative of who you know that you could become. As a Christian, I've really had to navigate this because forgiveness is probably one of the most important topics within Christianity, especially with so many stories in the Bible. It's something that we definitely have to keep in mind of who only loves us at our worst and who only wants to be there when we're not, doing our best. I'll first go ahead and define what does it mean for someone to only love us at our worst. So this is really sensitive only because your worst might be different from what someone else's is. So it could be a period in life where you have lost the identity that you once had, whether it's being an athlete or being a student or even being a business-oriented person, or basically the highlight of the success in your life has, gone away. And also when it comes to the person or someone else who only loves us at our worst, it really means a point where they are closer to us when we're in our most vulnerable state, when they feel like they have the upper hand. So these type of relationships kind of feed off of negative trauma, and I've definitely had my fair share of these relationships and have always realized that they just tend to end in such a bitter way, especially when emotions aren't really navigated towards a positive outlet. I feel like when you're around people who only love you at your worst, it's so hard for you to even get out of that rut because they do have a way of kind of reminding you of like who you once were and kind of feeling entitled to your growth, as in they want to be there not to build you up but to break you down, and this is my way of really defining what it means for someone who only loves you at your worst. Now that I've been moving from 2024 to 2025, I really was able to kind of now understand, everything within my own life or someone else's life doesn't necessarily need to become a topic, being able to kind of discern what needs to be discussed, especially when you are changing yourself, you might be going on to a new adventure, is so important, because it definitely does reflect on who around you genuinely wants the best for you. And I understand that people get busy and people have their own things to worry about, but it is essential for people to understand that relationships come in all different forms, and they all requires some level of effort. Even when it comes to personal relationships, friendships, family relationships, intimate relationships, all these types of relationships require some level of comfort with the opposite person. And being able to discern that going into 2025 has really highlighted how I see healthy versus non-healthy relationships. And that's where I'll really start hitting the nail on. So I had to understand, first of all, what is real love? And the Bible has a great description of what love is. I want to go ahead and bring up the verse, but it's 1 Corinthians 13:4-7. Line 4, which is, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. So there's definitely more details to that chapter, but it kind of made me realize that people who love me, who genuinely love me, want me to be at my best. They're not afraid to let me know that, hey, what you're doing is not right. You could be doing something so much better. And not just saying it, but actually giving actionable items that can be done in order to improve myself and also create a better relationship. I think relationships that are so heavily based on negativity and gossip and who's doing this and who's doing that have a way of giving so much time away from our internal development and give so much energy to others that we don't know. It's not fair to sit and ponder about someone else's life when there's literally a fire burning behind you. This is something that I think I've been personally guilty of, worrying about the next person, but not worrying about myself. It's something that, I had to check myself on, because if I can give so much energy towards someone else and I'm not putting that energy towards myself, then why? It doesn't make any sense. Besides that, I learned that the people that love you are going to not only check you, but they're also going to celebrate you. They're going to make your achievements feel even better. Having a room of envy or finding any slight anger with someone now that they've become different or they have become a better person kind of reflects upon you and shows that maybe you were not ready for that person to outshine you at that point. I've been a person who's been on the receiving end of this, and it definitely does hurt. But beyond that hurt, it kind of makes me realize that, hey, if God is revealing this person to not be who I think they are, it's probably for a reason. I also want to highlight some of the things that have happened, especially within my own life this year. So this year was really different for me because I finally graduated, and that's such a huge thing for me because a couple of years ago, I was out of school and completely left about a semester before I was supposed to graduate, out of stress and just not being so positive on that journey. I think I've already came in there with a negative mindset and definitely didn't have people around me who encouraged me to be better. And I'll highlight this with someone in my past, but I won't go into too many details about this. But they basically kind of tore me down when I was already down, and I had to realize that I was giving so much more energy to that friendship than they were giving towards me. And I had to realize that sometimes when people do things like that, it's not because of me. Like, it's literally not my fault. It's just that they're probably going through a personal struggle at that time. And if you're close to someone at that point and they're kind of going through the opposite, it's so easy to kind of think that they're hindering you from getting to your goals, which is not true. It's really a mind over matter thing. But some people, they don't know how to redirect their anger, and they don't know how to actually wish the best for someone else, because they would have to admit that this person is doing well and it's a reflection of themselves. Now, I understand that how jealousy could come in, especially when that person has now kind of gone past doing their worst. But I think that's where, jealousy is such an important thing to feel. And I'll say it like this. Let me say why it's important to feel. It's important to feel because now you have a way to navigate what you need to do to not feel jealous. Because if you're feeling jealous about something, it's usually because you want that thing in your life. You want something about that thing in your life. And jealousy is hugely felt when unfulfillment takes place. And this is a huge, huge lesson. when there's a feeling of unfulfillment and there's a feeling of like, oh wait, like this person did this or this person has this, that means that you probably neglected that goal. And that's probably something that you've wanted to achieve. And that has nothing to do with that person. Those feelings have nothing to do with that person. And it really takes someone who's wise to really understand that your personal feelings are not caused by someone else. They're usually a product of your own thoughts and your own perceptions and your own insecurities sometimes being highlighted within that moment. I do want to go ahead and kind of just say, keep in mind that when you are trying to become a different person, when you are trying to be more faith-based, when you are trying to understand what you want out of life, when you are trying to become stronger in your emotions, stronger in your physicality, stronger in your spirituality, that all these things are definitely going to ruffle some feathers, but they are doable. All right, so I do want to give some actionable items that can be done in order to, navigate a space where you feel like people are not taking your growth seriously, or someone is constantly reminding you of who you once were. I would say number one is to pray for your heart. Why do I say pray for your heart? Because it's going to have to give everyone a whole lot of grace. And that's one huge thing I had to realize I had to do. I had to give everyone grace, because some people don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. They don't have that inner consciousness that tells them, I'm probably acting like this because I feel this way. And once I kind of understood that, some people don't even understand why they're doing what they're doing, I had to pray for myself so that I would not lose control. I had to pray for my heart to be able to understand who I can guard it from and who I can open it up to. Secondly, I would say pray for your life. And what do I mean by your life? Pray to be discerning, but also understand boundaries. How are you going to implement boundaries in your life so that it's not being so easily shaken by somebody else? And what I mean by boundaries, it might be limiting the amount of time or energy you give to certain people, giving space when you feel like it's needed, giving room for someone to reflect versus being combative and being angry or being upset or misunderstanding what they're saying. So these are my two big important things to pray for. I'll go ahead and ask this to my audience. How did you know that someone only loved you at your worst? And what do you take from that? Did you change how you perceive them? Did you distance yourself? Did you stop talking at all? Or did you keep those people in your life? I also want to understand maybe some of the consequences from those actions and how you were able to navigate that. So just to close out this video, I want to go ahead and thank everyone so much for watching. First of all, I appreciate each and every one of you all. And make sure that you go ahead and like and subscribe.